Hello and welcome to another deep dive. So this time around we're going to be taking a look at something called LINQ, or Language Integrated Natural Queries. So if you've used query languages like SQL before, then some of this is going to be quite familiar. So LINQ is something that, it's not a thing that we use a lot in Unity, it absolutely isn't. But it is something that can provide some really powerful, simple solutions for quite complex tasks. So its main purpose is getting there and querying and restructuring data. So that's what we're going to take a look at, how we can actually use that to extract information out of data that we've retrieved, and how we can also be filtering and working with that data and organizing it and be able to do so in a fairly quick and simple way. That's the big thing LINQ allows us to do with that. So we're going to be diving in on that. As always, if you find these videos helpful, please do chuck in a like or subscribe. It's something that really helps out with the videos. So let's dive on in. So we've got a very colorful setup here where we've got a bunch of NPCs that all have this NPC script on them. So we're going to set up a game manager object that's going to have a game manager script. And what we're going to be doing is that's where all of the LINQ logic is going to actually live. So we'll add that onto our game manager, which we've got that there now. So to access LINQ, we need to add in using system.link. So once we've got that in there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lot of this stuff in start initially. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to retrieve all of the objects. So find objects of type, and I want to find every NPC. So var all NPCs. So okay, we've retrieved them. We haven't done anything LINQ related yet. But if we remember, find objects of type gives us back an array. So I'm going to specifically change this so it's clear that that's what we're getting back. But one of the things LINQ adds is a really easy way for us being able to convert stuff to arrays or lists, things like of that. So say I wanted this as a list of NPCs, then we do have ways that I can actually do that. You know, I could be setting up here, list, NPC. This, like that is a way that would allow me to create a list that contains those, absolutely. With LINQ, I can just go dot to list, and it will convert it into a list. So as we saw, there are also other ones here where we have to, and then dictionaries, things like of that. So these ones are our LINQ related ones. So to dictionary, we can provide it with the information there in terms of our keys and our values. But in this case, we just want to list. So that's good, easy to do. What if we give these NPCs a health? So let's give these serialized field current hit points. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in a wake, just so it's definitely done before anything else is talking to it, current hit points equals random range. Let's assume they're a random value between we'll say 20 and 100. Then I'm going to put in a way to read this externally. So I'm going to have current health, and we'll connect that to current HP. So I want to retrieve all of the NPCs out of here that have a health above a particular value. Now, the way that I would typically have to do that without LINQ is I would loop over all of them, compare that health, add them into another list. I can actually do that in a single line with LINQ. So what I'm going to do is I can say, well, all NPCs where. So when we are filtering, that's using a where expression. So we filter things, and then what we're providing here, so we do NPC. So this is just the element essentially that we're iterating over. So we would say where NPC current health. So let's say we're getting all of the ones above 80. And then we could store that again as a list. So var NPCs, or high health NPCs. So really easy. That just gives us out that set of NPCs. So we can debug log that out. NPC in high health NPCs. Debug log NPC dot name. Let's use game object name. And then we output their health. So easy way to retrieve ones. We could also sort that data as well. We won't initially sort it, but we will actually do that as the next step because LINQ, again, allows us to retrieve information, but also to process stuff with it. So we can see we've got 2 ones. So that's good. We might want to order those though. So actually, we'll do this just for the low health NPCs. So this will be debug log high health NPCs. And then for the low health ones, so var low health NPCs, all NPCs where NPC current health. Now the random range was 20 to 100. So what we'll do there is we want ones where it is less than or equal to 50. Now we want to order this because you can chain these together. So we want to order by. So default if we use order by is ascending. Otherwise we can use order by descending. So in this case, I do want to have it be ascending. So I'd say I want you to order by npc.current health and chuck that into another list. So again, and I can just, I'm going to duplicate the setup from here because this is our low health NPCs. Low health NPCs who will always have them sorted. This is one of the advantages with LINQ. Makes it really easy to do that. So we could, again, have set this up with the other approach of just using the built-in existing data there. We can see we had no high health ones. We do have low health ones, but we're also getting them in order. So LINQ makes it a lot fewer steps for doing things like this. The approach we would have otherwise had to do is we would have had to retrieve all of the NPCs. We would have had to loop through, check them against threshold, stash them in a list, and then set up a custom comparer for actually doing that sorting logic. But with LINQ, we don't have to because we've already got that information there. We can do more than this though. Because, okay, well, let's look at doing something further. What if we wanted to grab out just the names of all the NPCs? So that's all we want. We just want their names. So we're taking a parameter, a property within the classes, and we're wanting to extract that out into a list. So, okay, well, all NPCs, we're not using a where this time because we're not filtering, but we're restructuring. So select allows us to restructure, where allows us to filter. Now we can chain these together. So I could do a where to filter and then restructure that data. Or I could do a select to restructure first and then a where to process that afterwards. But again, what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to, so from the NPC, okay, game object name, to list. This is var all NPC names. And then I can log all of these out. Name, actually let's make this NPC name and all NPC names. Debug log NPC name. So I'm just extracting out this particular element. So we should expect to see it debug log out NPC 1, 2, 3, etc. So we'll let it run. And we can see we've got each of the particular ones logged out. Now, it's just logged them out in the order that it's found and processed them in. But as I said, we can do a where before this, or an order by. So I could say order by, well, NPC current health. So it will output the names in order of increasing health. So this is the power of stuff like a LINQ. You can just build up little expressions to get yourself familiar with the things, and then we can test it. So if we run this and see the different health values, so NPC 2 and 3 look like they should be first. We can see NPC 2, then 3. 3 had 33 health, then we went to NPC 1, which had 73, then we went to NPC 4 at 83, and then NPC 5 at 86. So really easy to chain together these expressions to allow us to do complex checks like of this. So retrieve all high health NPCs. This will retrieve all low health, because we can actually do more than this. Low health NPCs and retrieve all NPC names ordered by their health. Ordered by health. So we can do more, because we've got more things than just using a where to select stuff, using things like that. So if we think about other things that we could potentially do, so we might want to find all of the characters within a particular range of another one, or within a range of a location. So we can query more stuff than that, because we've retrieved the NPC script. We have access to stuff like position. So what if we want to pick a random location? Actually, yeah, we'll pick a random NPC. And we'll find the distance from all of the other NPCs to it. So what I could say is vector 3 target point, and that might be all NPCs, the first one, transform position. So then let's retrieve the NPCs ordered by distance from that position. So all NPCs dot order by. So we need to get the distance. So we've got that NPC. So then we can put here vector 3 dot distance, target point, and then NPC transform position. So this is going to order it. So what we get back is the NPCs ordered based on closeness to that point. Got to list. NPCs sorted by distance. This could be really handy if you're wanting to select a particular target, things like of that. We also can make it that we're only retrieving ones within a particular range. So, okay, we've got our order by there, but we could first filter. So we could say, well, let's exclude ones. So we only want ones where vector3 distance, target point to us is less than or equal to, let's say, 5 meters. So we are retrieving ones where they are within this distance, and if they are, then we also order that information. So I'm actually going to put our vector3 target point up here, just so we can easily be modifying it, and max range of 5 meters. So then we can just check against that. Max range, have our target point. So then now we can output this, arrange our NPC in NPCs sorted by distance. Debug log, NPC name, and let's also chuck in the distance. Just so we've got that as an extra little bit of information I think is useful to put in the debug output. So you can imagine if you're wanting to, the character has thrown something as a distraction, you could find any NPC nearby that you can also then pick the closest ones because that might change how strongly they react. So really easy way of grabbing this. It's a lot less code to do this than if we were doing a for loop. We were having to extract out the data first, and then we're having to sort the information. So this gives us a much more efficient way of actually doing that calculation. So our point, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to offset it so that it is in a slightly different location. There we go. So let's run it and let's see what we get in terms of the NPCs back. So we can see only one NPC has an output there. These other ones are exactly 3 units away from it. If we expand the range to say 10, then we should see all of the ones, but as it was 1, 3, and 4 were closest. We can see NPC 3 and 1 are tied at 3 units away, and then we have the other NPC units there as well. So really, really powerful way of being able to do queries like this. And we can do, there's a couple other things we can actually do. One of the big uses for it is autocomplete, for example. So this is finding all NPCs near target point within range and sorted by range. So we can, for stuff like an autocomplete, this can be really handy because maybe we've got all of these NPCs and we want to actually only pick the ones that have particular name. Or if we were doing like an autocomplete one, we might have debug commands, stuff like that. So I'm going to rename this. So a couple of these are A NPC. And then what we could be doing is, okay, all NPCs where, and NPC, we could say, well, where NPC.name object name, we could do a contains, or we could do a starts with. So we could find only the ones that start with NPC. NPCs of interest. So any parameter that's there on the game object, or we could even, we wouldn't want to really do a get component in here. We could, but that's a little bit dicey performance-wise, and I wouldn't recommend it. But anything that's on the script or the object that we've retrieved there, we can access. We can do stuff with the name, with the transform position or rotation. We can run functions like starts with and things like that. It's really, really powerful for being able to do this. So NPC in NPCs of interest, debug log, NPC, and object name. And what we should see is we only have 3 entries that come out for that. We're running. We've only got 3 particular ones. If I rename this back, then NPC 2 should now appear in that list as well. And we can see NPC 2 is now back in that list. So we can find things that match a particular pattern. So if you're doing an autocomplete where the user is typing stuff in, you could be checking what they have, you've got a list of all of the things you might need to match against. You can use LINQ to find the entries in that list where they start with the text that's already been entered. So it gives you a way of then providing the possible autocomplete options, things like that for the user. So really, really powerful for being able to do that. So as I said, LINQ is not something that you're going to use in every project, probably not even in most projects, because it isn't equal in performance to if you manually wrote out the for loops, things like that. It isn't. It does usually have a higher cost, but when we are doing initial prototyping, when we are getting things up and running, that's where LINQ has a huge value, because it allows us to very quickly, very easily get a version of the code up and running. So we can test our systems, we can make sure things work, and then later, if we're finding that the performance is an issue, we can come along and improve it. The key thing is it gets us to that functional state sooner. That's the real key goal with it. So the general things we can do with LINQ, we have where, which where allows us to filter data, to grab only the particular ones that match values that we're interested in. We have select, which allows us to extract or to restructure information. We can use order by or order by descending to sort the data that we've got. And then we can use things like toList or toArray or toDictionary to convert that data into the particular type that we might need. So dive in and experiment with LINQ. As I said, it is not something that you will use in every project. It's not something that you should use in every project. It's not something that has got an improved performance typically over writing the longer form code. It will be slower, but it is quicker to get up and running initially, and that lets you test your logic, your system sooner, which means that you can prove your concept with the game sooner, which is really important. But then make sure you come along afterwards and be profiling it, checking the performance, and optimizing as needed there with it. So dive in, experiment with it, see the kinds of things that you can create with it. If you want to have a look at an example where I'm doing a lot of stuff with autocomplete for it, I'm going to put a link into my developer console below, and that's something where I use LINQ a lot for the autocomplete logic there. So check that out as a bit of a way of seeing how you can use that and experiment with it, see what you can create. Thanks, folks. If you're looking for the code for the project, then in the description below, you'll find a link to the GitHub. And on the GitHub, I've got the code for this project and for all of the other projects there freely available. And if you have found the video helpful and you'd like to support the channel, then throwing in a like or subscribing is always a huge help. If you're looking for further ways to support, then I do have a Patreon set up, and that's going to help me keep managing to do these videos for a long time to come, which is going to help more people make cool things. And that's awesome, because that's what this is all about, is helping more people make more cool things. And that is all. Thank you.